Mark Ogden and Janusz Michallik joining me, Kay Murray, and we have just seen Chelsea held by Nottingham Forest. 1-1 that game finished. Last time out, Chelsea had beaten Bournemouth 2-0. And Janusz, I'm sure we were talking about the fact that there was a drop-off in that second half. So what went wrong for them today?
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's the first half, 80% possession, right? And, all over Nottingham Forest, who are surely still going down to the championship when it's all said and done. They had the chances, they looked the part, as they often do, but unfortunately for them, they could never find that second goal, and you could see immediately in the second half that Forest listen to what was said at halftime, because when that goal came in, and obviously it was a bad clearance there from Havertz, and Aurier found a way to equalize. It was coming. Gibbs White hit the crossbar. What a strike that was! But number of chances there with Brennan Johnson as well. So it wasn't by coincidence or by chance that Nottingham Forest equalized. It was coming.
Yeah, it definitely was coming. You got that feeling, didn't you, Mark, that obviously they'd gone ahead through Raheem Sterling in the first half. And then as soon as Forest came out in the second half, it could have been the tale of two different team talks in those dressing rooms, because they came out all guns blazing.
Yeah, and Chelsea didn't know what to do with it. And I think the problem with Chelsea is that, for me, and this isn't on Graham Potter, this is on the club itself, is that they brought all these players in the summer, and I can't think of any of the players they brought in that have actually made a difference, a positive difference. I looked at people like Cucurella today. I know Sterling scored a goal, but I don't think it was particularly impressive. Koulibaly worries me at times. I think the best players were Thiago Silva and Mason Mount, and they've been there through how many managers? Probably 3 or 4 now. So Chelsea look like a team that has just been thrown together with no real coherent plan. I think Potter's struggling to get the team to play how he wants. He's struggling for an idea into his best team. I think it showed in the second half. I think Forest had a lot more belief. They believed in the manager. The manager had a plan, and Forest just stuck to what they know best. And I think with Chelsea, I just worry about Chelsea. I said this the other day. I just think, this week they've got 2 games against Man City, one in the Premier League, one in the FA Cup. They'll probably lose both. So that'll be them out of the FA Cup and probably out of the race for the top 4. So these are difficult times for Chelsea. And I think Potter, I don't think he's under immediate pressure, but I know a lot of the fans are beginning to question his appointment. I think the owners have got a bit more patience, but we need to see more from Chelsea in games like this, that they actually are making progress. And they're playing against a team that's probably going to get relegated, as Janusz said. So Chelsea should not be struggling to get a result at Nottingham Forest with the players they have.
So does it just highlight the need for a striker, Janusz, with everything we saw today?
Yeah, because sometimes we get on here every day just about, and sometimes it feels we're talking about the same thing. And I look at it, and it has to be as simple. Mark's right. I mean, the players that they've brought in did make a difference. But quite frankly, other than the injuries, which is important, because when we look at Arsenal and Manchester City top teams, I don't think they have as many problems. I don't even want to go on and say how many players Chelsea are missing, because that's important. I mean, you can't play well when you have 6 or 7 key players out of the lineup, especially at this time when you're playing every 2 days. But I mean, they don't have a striker. They just don't. I mean, Raheem Sterling, consider him as a prolific goal scorer, but he's nowhere near even where he was at Manchester City, even though he scored a goal, because I can't remember anything else he's done other than score that goal that kind of came to him out of nowhere. And Broja is injured. He's young. We don't really know if he can play at a level of Chelsea. But here we are hearing again about, Benoit Badiashile, who's a very good defender, is very young, and I think he can help. But, they're talking about him, they're talking about Enzo Fernandez, they're talking about midfielders and defenders. And yet, since now, Timo Werner has left, and there's nobody. And I'm saying nobody, because even Aubameyang had that header, remember, 80th minute or something like that, where he has to score that. So I think this is going to continue no matter what. I mean, this is Chelsea Football Club that don't have a half a striker. If you put all those players together, you still don't come out with one good, consistent goal scorer. You just don't.
Do you think, Mark, that they're going to give Potter the choice to at least go for who he wants to go for in this transfer window?
That's a good question, because I don't think they did that with Thomas Tuchel in the summer. I think there was a few players that came in that were questionable signs. I think he got Aubameyang. Obviously, that was his signing, and he was sacked about 3 or 4 days later. But I'm not quite sure that Graham Potter's going in there and say we need Enzo Fernandez. I mean, I'm sure he'd love him, but I just don't think he's a player that he would automatically put into his strategy. I think you're right. I think Chelsea need a striker, and all this talk about midfielders and defenders is great, but I just don't see the strategy. Sometimes you have to do what is staring you in the face. And what's staring Chelsea in the face is the fact that they haven't been able to put the ball in the back of the net. Aubameyang hasn't worked. Kai Havertz has got a goal in him, but he's not a 20-goal a season player. I just think they've made a massive mistake letting both Werner and Lukaku go in the summer. Now, I think they had to let Lukaku go. I think his head wasn't in the right place. They could have held on to Werner, not sold him back to Leipzig, but that was a decision they took. But they're paying the price now, and I think it just looks like Chelsea are a toothless team. But Potter has to find a way, and I just don't know what is. Pulisic and Havertz and Sterling and Mount. They're all the same player, really. They're all good in a certain area, but they're not strikers. And talking about midfielders is pointless. Chelsea aren't going to do anything this season without a guy who can put the ball in the back of the net.
We were just talking before we came on, Mark, about the fact that they're 8th at the moment in the table, are 7 points off Manchester United, who are 4th, and they've played the same amount of games as well. For you, Mark, what's your feeling on where they're going to end this season with the way things are going?
I think they're going to end outside the top 4. Like I said, if they lose against Man City on Thursday, I think it's Thursday at Stamford Bridge, then they could be 10 points behind United by that point. United play Bournemouth at home on Tuesday. So, if they're double figures behind 4th place in early January, with a lot of inconsistency, a lot of question marks, without a goal scorer, I think they've got a problem. They're still in the Champions League. They've got Borussia Dortmund, so they may get through that, but I don't see Chelsea winning the Champions League. So already you're thinking, where's this season going to go? Where's it drifting off to? And it's not drifting to a good place. And I don't think the owners will admit they made a mistake sacking Thomas Tuchel, but I think everybody else in football thinks they made a mistake sacking Thomas Tuchel, because they had a guy that was a proven coach. The players respected him. What we on 3 or 4 games of the season when he was sacked, there wasn't enough game time played or anything. So he was sacked because he didn't really fit the vision of the owners, the long-term vision that was a young coach like Potter who would be more embracing of the idea of a kind of a collective strategy, a plan of going forward, young players coming through. I mean, it's like the old Mike Tyson quote, isn't it? Everyone's got a plan till they get a smack on the nose. And I think Chelsea's smack on the nose is if they miss out on the Champions League, because then all these question marks about this plan of going forward slowly with a plan. If the money's not coming in for the Champions League, then that plan goes out the window.
What do you think of what Mark's just said there, Janusz? Do you think that they might have some regrets of letting Tuchel go?
No, I think he was facing the same issues, didn't he? I think the biggest problem Thomas Tuchel had, in my opinion, was the success came a little bit too early for him. I know that sounds crazy, but if you want to stay long-term and build, I mean, he came in winning the Champions League right away, and then started to have those issues in terms of scoring. So I don't know. I mean, if they stayed patient and kept him, I think we're looking at the same issues right now. So I think, when you have a shock to the system like Chelsea did, and let's face it, I mean, you couldn't think this up, right? With what happened to Roman Abramovich and the war and all of that. When you're having those issues and a new manager come in, and not new manager, but new ownership comes in, I think it's normal when things don't go their way, when they want to maybe bring their own people. So I don't know if I go that far back. I just think that Chelsea are paying the price for the once in a lifetime shock to the system.
Do you want to respond to that, Mark?
Yeah, I take Janusz's point. I don't think the Chelsea owners will regret sacking Tuchel. It was their decision, but I think when I speak to Chelsea fans and people, on social media, it's pretty much universal. They didn't want Tuchel to go. They loved Thomas Tuchel because he did bring success. He won the Champions League, and Janusz is definitely right. It was too soon. It was not too soon, but it did come a lot earlier than people expected. But he's a guy that's got a proven track record, and I think when it comes to the crunch, the players believe in coaches that have actually won something and put a big trophy on the table, and they can think, well, this guy's having a rough patch. As Tuchel did at the start of the season, but they have the faith that he'll turn it around because he's a proven winner. He's done that at PSG, had a great record at Borussia Dortmund. So I think they'll regret sacking Tuchel privately, because Tuchel was a proven winner, a guy that knew what he was doing at this end of the table. I think Potter is a very talented coach, and he's got people at Brighton speak very highly of him, certainly at Swansea as well, and when he worked in Sweden. But this is Chelsea. This is 2-time Champions League winner, one of the biggest clubs in Europe. It really is no place for a novice.
Thanks so much for watching ESPN on YouTube. And for more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for premium content and live streaming, subscribe to ESPN Plus.